shot, bleeding, and begging for help. For the first time on TV, we are hearing from the retired Oakland Police Captain who survived 22 gunshot wounds during a robbery. Ersie Joyner was filling up his car with gas in West Oakland back in October when he was surrounded by a group of men who demanded his jewelry and cash, but this was no ordinary holdup.
It all went sideways, with one of the suspects ending up dead. Now Joyner is sharing how all of this went down. KTVU's Andre Sr. here now with the exclusive interview. Andre?
Alex and Julie, it's not every day you get to hear from someone who was riddled with bullet holes but lived to tell the tale. And Joyner didn't just survive that shootout. He says he is nearly back to 100% after that tragic day.
I always thought that I was invincible. I got humbled and humanized on that day on October 21st, that's for sure.
For the first time on television, retired Oakland Police Captain Ersie Joyner is recounting the day his life nearly ended.
Torso, hips, legs, ankles. I was even shot in my big toe.
It was an ordinary Thursday, and Joyner was heading to the airport to catch a flight. With a pit stop at the Chevron gas station along the 1700 block of Castro Street, just off 980, a service station he's used countless times. As a former law enforcement officer, Joyner's trained to have his head on a swivel. But last October 21st, he said life got in the way and he made a near fatal mistake.
This particular day, I was so engrossed with everything else I had going on, staring at my phone. I didn't even see the car pull into the gas station.
Surveillance video shows the encounter that took place in just 1 minute. 3 men with guns, one in a red hoodie, 2 others disguised in black hoodies, all wearing ski masks, rushed Joyner.
And by the time I looked up, a young man with a hood on, a full face mask, and a gun in his hand was less than 12 inches away from me, telling me, you know what time it is, give me everything. The firearm pointed right.
For the first time with a television news crew, Joyner allowed us to accompany him back to the scene. You haven't come back to get gas here?
No. Yeah, I got off the freeway. I pulled into the entrance right here. Drove in, turned, parked right here at pump 1.
Sprightly walking around the gas pump where he was shot and showing no signs his body was riddled with 22 bullet holes just 3 months ago.
My first inclination, my first thought was, how did I let this happen?
He recounted to us in striking detail every vivid moment.
The first guy came up to me. I believe he might have actually came around all the way there. The second guy came through the pumps here, grabbed my necklace.
He says when the man tried to rip his necklace from his neck, he calmly offered to give it to them, along with the bracelet on his right hand and the watch on his left. The men rifled through Joyner's pockets, narrowly missing a concealed gun holstered in his waist. Calmly offering his belongings, he said, seemed to be working, but their demeanor changed when they could not find more valuables in his vehicle.
My mind immediately went to being tactical. How do I deal with the situation? What's the best course of action? And how do I survive?
And at that moment, the former police captain, who'd retired from the Oakland Police Department just 2 years earlier and had never been shot on duty, said he knew he'd have to fight if he had any chance of surviving.
I can distinctly hear his voice say, "F that shoot him and take the whole truck."
Pulling his gun and firing first at the man in the red hoodie who took off running.
And I realized to myself that I was possibly going to be a victim of gunfire, but I recognized to myself that I refused to be a victim, that I was going to be a survivor.
Then he shoots at another man in a black hoodie. We'd later learn that was 20-year-old Dasani Gardner, a rapper from Vallejo. Concerned the third man would circle back, he pressed forward to the other side of the pump.
He's standing with the car for cover and concealment. I'm standing in the open with nothing. We start exchanging gunfire. I'm hit multiple times.
You see Joyner fall to the ground while continuing to fire and even manages to get up. But while seeking refuge behind the gas pump, he trips over the gas hose.
I was hit in my left hand as I was shooting towards him, and it felt like I didn't get shot. It felt like I had licked my finger and stuck it into a light socket.
The other man in the black hoodie peeks out from behind and continues shooting at Joyner.
Well, he's shooting at me. I'm actually pointing my gun that's empty at him in hopes that he doesn't come up, shoot me in the face, and execute me.
A move that seems to work. The gunman stops shooting and tries to pull his companion's body into the waiting getaway car before abandoning that plan leaving Gardner's body and escaping in the waiting vehicle. Laying on the ground, his body filled with bullets, one might wonder how Joyner was able to keep fighting even after suffering so much trauma.
Throughout the whole situation, the moment that this robbery started, I became hypersensitive. The adrenaline was at an all-time high.
But this story is far from over. That's because Joyner is still on the ground. His legs, thighs, and back are covered in bullet holes. He's losing blood and begging witnesses for help.
When I look up, there's probably 5 people over here who were over the top of me videotaping. There's also people who are standing here behind me that I can feel and can't see.
Instead of calling for help, he says people around him were recording video of his suffering on their cell phones.
I never once heard anyone call 911. I never heard any of the 7 people actually give any information.
What he didn't know, though, was that OPD was indeed alerted to the gunfire and rushed to the scene to help. Officers threw him in the back of a police cruiser and rushed him to the hospital.
It's a situation that was very traumatic for me. I talk about it not from a position of, I can't believe this happened to me. I talk about it from a position of, I want to glorify God and His greatness and His grace that I survived that. But more importantly, I want to make sure that people know that you have to fight for your life. You cannot just be a victim, you have to be a survivor.
We, of course, know that Joyner miraculously survived what very likely could have been a deadly encounter. But the question tonight, how? Remember, he says no one called 911. He credits a piece of technology called ShotSpotter with saving his life by alerting police. But the story of how that happened actually goes back a decade, and one that some might consider stranger than fiction. It starts when they met through their daughters. Had they never met, Joyner and Clark, the man you see there, Joyner may not be alive today. Tomorrow night at 10, we continue our exclusive report with that part of the story. Alex, back to you.
Wow, just a remarkable story, a remarkable recovery. Andre, does Ersie Joyner talk about how this traumatic experience has sort of changed his mindset moving forward? You have to imagine anytime he's out and about in public, he's hypervigilant.
Well, as you heard right there, he's not been back to that gas station since, and he's been going to that gas station, Alex, for 30 years.
Wow.
When he worked with the police department, and now he used to go back there up until recently just to get gas. He says he will not go there anymore, but he will continue to do what he's always told people to do, is keep your head on a swivel when you go to the gas station, look around, be aware of your surroundings, something he failed to do that day. He says he will not make that mistake again.
He's so fortunate to still be alive. All right, Andre Sr., live tonight. Thank you, Andre.
Sure.